Hey guys, John Stevens here again at Working Man Success. If you're new to the channel, I come on here at least 3 times a week, and my goal is to give you ideas, concepts, practical plans that will help you move forward in your career, in your life. And I'm directing most of my conversations toward the younger men that's getting out of high school, that's in their 20s and 30s, that are trying to build a career and find their lot in life. And guys, today is Wednesday, episode 62. This is my 62nd video, and April the 16th. And today I want to talk to y'all about something that is very uncommon in today's world. What I'm about to talk about is uncommon, and society is built to remove this from young men, and it's self-reliance. As you're going through school and you're growing up, we have become more and more and more dependent on other people. And as you're a young kid and you're growing up, you have to be dependent on your parents. You have to be dependent on your guardian. You have to be dependent on certain people until you get a certain age. But society is making this where once you get out on your own, they want you to continue to be dependent as you possibly can. And as a man, as a young guy, your number one goal should be to get as self-reliant as you possibly can. And self-reliance is going to help you move forward in your career and build a life that you can be proud of, probably more than anything else that I can think of right off the top of my head. Self-reliant. If you're always looking for somebody to pull you out of a bind, if you always have a crutch that you can lean on, if you forget to do something or you don't take care of your responsibilities, and you always have somebody there that's going to pull you out of a bind, you're always going to have that in the back of your head, and you're never going to become as responsible and self-reliant as you could otherwise. So is it good to have these people around? Absolutely. But there should be a extreme shame in guys when they cannot figure out how to get by or do something on their own, and they have to ask for help. We all have to ask for help every now and again. It's a normal human thing. But society is built where we want people to be completely dependent. And a young man should be able, his goal should be able to get as self-reliant and be able to take care of himself and create a life where he can supply a life for his wife and his kids. And he may not have a wife or kids right now, but if you don't, that is your goal, is to get in a position where you can be the person that they depend on. And being one thing that gets us in trouble is, I believe parents these days have babied their kids, and I see parents babying teenagers all the way up until they're 19, 20 years old, and even in their 20s. And I don't know where that come from. I don't know. I think it was actually designed in society to make people more dependent. But if you had a parent that pushed you hard, that made you responsible, that made you self-reliant, that gave you chores, that gave you some bills to pay, made you find things out on your own, you should be very thankful for them parents. It's not because they didn't love you. It's not because they didn't want to give you the nice things. It's because they knew that once you get out on your own, they're not going to be there all the time, and you have to be self-reliant. I see kids all the time now. It's their first job in construction, and they come out and they have to learn. They have to learn how to be self-reliant. But some of them is so used to getting everything handed to them You have people that come to work that if it's raining, they expect the company or they expect somebody to furnish them a raincoat. If it's cold, they expect them to furnish a jacket. They if they forget their lunch, they're trying to bum off somebody. Maybe they smoke or maybe they have a tobacco addiction, and if they run out, they're bumming from somebody else, and that is destroying your reputation. And you don't even realize it when you're young. But if you get in a habit of taking leaning on somebody else to get you by through the day or get you by on your bills or get you by because you don't have a ride, you your number one goal again should be complete self-reliant as much as possible. If you get into trouble and you're going through hard times and you lost a job and you're trying to do all you can and you've got to ask for help, that's one thing. But if you make it a habit of leaning on somebody else, or if you have a habit built into you where you always have a crutch because you always had a crutch growing up, that is something you have to get rid of in your life. And like I said, if a guy has to ask for help, they should be an internal shame that bothers him. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask for help, especially if it means, like you've got to supply food, you've got to supply a place to live, a shelter, you got to supply the things that your family needs. You should absolutely ask for help if you cannot supply it. But when you do, that should hurt you inside a little bit. You should have some shame in you about that. And that shame will push you to become the person and not get in that situation again, and keep you from getting in that habit. So guys, just there's 4 ideals that I was thinking about that may help you try to build more self-reliant. And the it's no particular order, it's just 4 different ideals, but the first one I got wrote down is, pay the price of your mistake. So I'm going to use a very small example, but if you get up in a hurry to get to work and you don't pack your lunch, or you don't bring the money you need to buy the lunch, if you can buy it. A lot of times on construction sites, you don't have that available. You can't go buy stuff, so you got to bring your lunch. If by chance that you forget that, or you forget your tobacco addiction, or whatever it is, don't bum, go without. Just push yourself and be uncomfortable and be unhappy the rest of the day because you did that. That will build a little bit of that you had to pay a price because you forgot something or you didn't prepare for it, and that will keep you from doing it in the future more. So number 2, like if you have a issue, or if you have a problem you got to solve at work, or if you have a problem at home as far as something breaking down, and like you're automatically, if you have a habit of leaning on a crutch, you automatically are picking up the phone to call somebody to get some help, to get some advice. And that's okay if you need that, but try your best to figure out things. Try to work through it without dragging somebody else in it and pulling them into your situation because you need to lean on them. If you try to figure things out and you exhaust all options and you don't have any other way to do it, yes, call a friend, call a parent, call whoever you need to get through the situation. But at least put forth the effort to try to figure things out and get through it on your own. And what that's going to do is that's going to build in you, like in your career, when something comes up and you're always running to your buddy or your friend or your coworker, and you're always trying to get help with this or that, and you get where it's a habit. And like some of the most smallest problems you can't figure out on your own, not because you're not smart or not because you're not intelligent or not because that you can't figure it out. It's just because you have a habit of always leaning on the crutch. So if the crutch is there, you lean on it. So try your best to get through problems on your own. And number three, we've already talked about this one, is develop a healthy sense of shame when you have to rely on somebody. When you have to rely on somebody as a man, you should have some shame about it. Like if you can't pay your bills, if you cannot feed your family, if you cannot get through and you have to call and get financial help, or if you have to get any kind of help that's just on a normal life basis, and you can't make it through that, you should have a little bit of shame in your heart. You should be shameful of that, and not to the fact that there's something wrong with it if you have to go that route, but just being a little bit of shameful for having to pick up the phone and asking somebody. That will also help you develop self-reliance. And the fourth one is know that it's up to you. Like at the end of the day, your self-reliant and your responsibility is the only thing that you can 100% count on, because whatever you're leaning on, whoever you're leaning on, may not be there in certain points in your life. So know that if you do not develop self-reliance, if you do not develop the attitude that I can make it, that someday your crutch is going to fail you. So understand that, especially as a young guy, y'all need to figure this out and be as self-reliant as possible, because really it's the only thing you can 100% count on. And I don't know how far I want to go with that, but I don't know. I don't want y'all to get the wrong impression in saying never ask for help, because everybody gets in situations that they need help sometimes. But your level of self-reliance will give you a sense of confidence, and you really, especially as a young guy, that should be your number one priority, is trying to develop self-reliance on yourself. So guys, that's what I had today. I'm gonna shut it off. Like I said, I'm trying to keep these short as possible, and I hope this was helpful. If you thought it was, send it to somebody who needs to hear it. Get in the comments and tell me if you agree or disagree. Say whatever you want. If y'all want to talk about this subject, say whatever, and I will talk to y'all Friday. Thanks for listening, guys.